Okay, good evening. I am recording this video because somebody actually asked for a tutorial of how to deal with a character that has only a head, which is like here, and fully covered up. In this case, it's still not too bad because the legs are still fairly well represented. But in this case, how do you deal with something like a fully covered up character with only a head available for use? Now, the request is actually for Genesis 8, but because this model, I've actually been planning to use this to do this for Genesis 9. It's a suitable model to be used for this tutorial, and I don't really want to go and wait until a proper model appears on my commission list. So please bear with it for when I explain using Genesis 9 as a base model instead of Genesis 8. I will try to highlight the differences, but essentially there are not many differences, just one or two points that you need to keep in mind. But other than that, the steps are basically identical, right? So without further ado, I will just go on. So firstly, this is a fresh import from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Cessny, if I'm not wrong, right? So firstly, this is how it comes in. Normally what I will do is I will clean up the model a little bit. I won't say clean up, but more like adapt the model to be more suitable for our purposes, in this case conversion, right? So firstly, I will look at the skeleton here, and then I like to change it to sticks and front forward so that I can see everything clearly. So this, I've been doing quite a few of these tutorials already. So this is actually a fairly specific item, which is just for the face and how to deal with it to morph a body out. But since the guy also asked for step by step, so I will be trying my best to do it a step by step basis. But if in this case, if there's anything that I miss out or I forgot, please forgive me, because I've been doing quite a few of these tutorials and I can't really remember like what I've covered in previous models or previous videos and what is new here. Okay, so, and because I don't really do this very often nowadays. Okay, so basically what I have here is the Genesis 9 base model as well as the Final Fantasy figure itself, which is this figure here. So I will put in a collection and select hierarchy and throw this thing here so that I can actually just hide the entire thing if I need be, right? So how I get this model down here, just in case people want to know, is I open Dust Studio, right? And this works the same for any figure that you have inside your library, right? So I actually placed a shortcut down here for loading in a default figure. So you can do the same. You just load in any of the figure that you want to use as a base, either Genesis 8 or even Genesis 3, Genesis 2 is all the same. So the procedure is exactly the same, right? Maybe the textures is a problem because they all use different UV, but in terms of the model, it's the same, right? So this is the Genesis 8, Genesis 9 model that I actually have. So if you want to use this, get this clean model for use as a base. So what you do is you have this model down here. I'll just remove everything. So it's just the model, right? Secondly is parameters. You go to general and resolution level, put to base. So what this does, right, is that it actually removes where's my wireframe? Wireframe shaded, right? So it actually removes the smoothing. So if you put high resolution, right, you'll see that they actually double all the vertices. So every vertices is actually every polygon is actually doubled, right, or quadruple actually, right? But you need to be in base model in order for you to use it. So in this case, I have the base model of Genesis 9, and because I want to have a female figure down here, so I will dial in the where is it? I'll dial in the female female figure, which is oh dear, I think it's this one, base female. I actually can't remember where is it. I normally don't use morphs that often. Is it here? Is somewhere. Yeah, this one, base feminine body, right? So dial in the base feminine body or the base masculine body, depending on you want a guy or a girl, right? If you want neither, then the base model will be fine because it's designed to be either way, right? So in this case, I have the base feminine body. Then you can export this as an OBJ somewhere, wherever you want to save it as. So I'll just put it down here. I'm not going to actually save, so I'll just randomly put in some stuff. And this is the settings that I have, right? On 1%. And basically, all of these are not really that important. Surfaces, you don't really need it also, unless you want to play with the textures. But then again, those you can actually do that separately, right? So if I'm not wrong, most of these are actually on the default. The important thing is basically the scale. So whatever scale you export in, when you import, remember to scale it back up again. So in this case, I export it at 1%. Then when I import, I need to import at 10,000%, right? Because the default is 100%. So you need to add or subtract 2 zeros in my case, right? So whatever scale that you're working in, you just need to make the suitable adjustments for your own circumstances, right? So the reason why I put in 1% is because this is the scale that I find working in down here in Blender more suitable, because most models, when you load in, for example, when I load in this figure directly from the game files that somebody extracted from the game, right? This is the scale that is given to me, that is imported by default. So because of this, generally across the board, this is roughly the scale that's being used. That's the reason why I'm using 1%, right? So after this, after you have your base model, right? So you have the base model here. Then what you do next is you have the character. And then what you're going to do is you're going to superimpose your figure over the base model. So in this case, number one, you have the hues. In this case, a fairly steep hue. So you have to take this into account as well. And you have actually the rest is quite fitting. So you can see that for example, the shoulder line and the chest line and the hip line is actually above, more higher than the default does. The reason for that is because of the hue. So you press 3 on your numpad, you go to side view, then you can actually select everything. So in this case, you disable the selection for the Genesis 9 base. So you're only selecting your new figure. Then what I like to do is I will press G, press Z. So G is grab. With this, you can move things around, and Z will restrict it to the Z axis, which is up and down, right? So I will push it down all the way until here, roughly, right? What you want is you want to align the hues with the hue. So the hue of the figure with the hue of the Genesis 3 model. So in this case, you can align roughly around here. So you can see the sole of the feet, right? It's just under the sole of the shoes is just under the feet, which is where normally when you wear shoes, it's around there, right? Then I will press G and Y, which is back and forth, and put it roughly here. Okay, then sorry about that. My microphone is a bit wonky. So where was I? Oh yeah. So number one on the numpad, so that you can go to the front view and then you can see like where the foot is aligned, right? Next, you will want to do a size change. So press S and scale up the figure until you can, there are a few points of reference you can do. The first one, if you can see the shoulder clearly, the shoulder is actually a very good place to scale your figure, right? So your first point of reference is the heel, right? Because for any shoe, even if it's high heel, no matter how high the heels, the heel will always be roughly in the same position. So that is your first point of reference. So you anchor your reference here. Then the next point is shoulder, or the nose, or the eyes, or the mouth, depending on how comfortable you are morphing and shifting around the facial features, right? So in my case, I will actually, in this case, because this shoulder is actually a bit, how to put it, puffy, as in you can't really see the shoulder line clearly, so the face will actually be a better point of reference. So same again, go to 3, and then the ear is also good, because if you can see the ear is actually quite, you can see where the ear is, something like that. So you will see that the Final Fantasy 7 figures, generally the face is smaller than the dust figures. So the ear is actually a good point of reference if you can find it. So you can see down here also, if you look at the eyes, this is if you scale by the eyes, you can see the eyelashes moving, right, down here. So roughly this point is also good, right? So depending on how comfortable you are with moving around the eyes and the facial features, I'm sorry. Yeah, so depending on how comfortable you are moving the model around, you just select an anchor point and do that, right? So in my case down here, I have it at the eyes and the nose. Not exactly, the nose is actually a little bit lower. Sorry, the nose is actually a little bit lower, and the mouth is actually more or less aligned, and the ears are a bit higher compared to the dust, right? Then the next point is the shoulders, which is actually a very good point to use. So you can see down here, your shoulder is actually a little bit forward. So I will move the figure back just a little bit, right? So that you can see the arms, the shoulder point here, and the elbow point here, right? So they are more or less aligned, slightly a little bit out, but that's also because Final Fantasy 7 figures generally are slimmer, much slimmer compared to the dust figures, right? So this is roughly where you would want your arms to be. You can actually select the bones, upper arm, for example, in this case, the upper arm bones, and you rotate a little bit to see where the point is. Then after that, what I will do is I will go to X-axis mirror, or you can do here also. So you click down here and you can move both arms at the same time. So now you can see they're actually both moving in the same direction, so to speak. So if I move this to the left, both arms will go to the left. That is not what you want. You want one going, the left arm going here and the right arm going here, right? So how to fix that is select the skeleton, press Alt. This is in pose mode. You want to go to edit mode. So edit mode and select all the skeletons. So if you want to change mode, you just click on the tab key. I'm sure if you're using Blender, you should know that already. Then once you're in the edit mode, right, press Control N. No, sorry, Shift N. Shift N recalculate the row. Shift N, or you go to amateurs and bone row, which is this one. Recalculate row. Okay, so what you want is a global Y. So global Y basically is the one that will give you the result you want, which in this case is like that, right? So this is the results that you want. Depending on the base rig, you might need to change others, but generally global Y is the one you want. Okay, so with this, right, you can do some adjustment to the rig itself. So you can see down here, what you want is to align the shoulders, the elbow as mentioned, and then the next point is the hands. Now, depending on the model, the hands can actually vary quite greatly. So in this case, you will see that the hands are actually quite a bit above the dust figure. Last time I'm still not very used to this, so I try to force the arms to the hand position. So for example, I will scale Y, double tap Y, and then force the arms to match the dust figure, right? That is what I used to do last time. But nowadays, I found out that it's actually easier if I just leave it like that. It makes conversion much easier. Like for example, when I first converted the Final Fantasy Remake Tifa, especially, you imagine she has like 7 glove weapons. That was a pain to convert because of my insistence on matching the hands, right? So in nowadays, what I do is I will match, like for example here, I will match the wrist, sorry, as close as possible, right? Then you make sure the hands down here. I will try to also fit the roll. So in this case, I'm not sure how clearly you can see this. The fingers here, you want it to match as much as possible. So for example, around here, I will press R for roll or rotate, and then double Y. So what double Y does is that it will actually rotate along the line of the bone itself, right? So using this as the reference point, so you can see the pinky finger here and the forefinger. So I will rotate double Y and rotate it slightly, just a little bit, right? So that they roughly are on the same line. And then what I will do next is I will go to the hands, which is normally is hand something, and then I will rotate downwards. Okay, so it will be roughly something like this. And then next will be the palm, the outer edge of the palm, lower palm, or I'm not sure how you put it, the outer palm, the one nearer to the pinky, right? So this edge here and this edge here, make sure that they are roughly parallel. You don't need to be exact, but roughly, right? Then you will notice that the fingers, this one is straight line, while this one is a fairly exaggerated curve. So what I will do is I will rotate the pinky finger and then the rest to match. So something like that, and this one will turn in a little bit, and this one will and this one will turn in quite a bit. Okay, so roughly like that. And then check again. So what you want is, for example, if your finger is here, then you want all the fingers to be roughly around the same area, like so. Okay, so this is a approximate, it's not exact. If you want exact, what you can do is you can do the trick that I did the previous time, which is to say scale Y, double tap Y, and then you move this here, right, roughly to the scale of the fingers. Then you can be very exact. So in this case, I will move down a little bit, and the hands is roughly there. So the fingers will come here, here, something like that. Okay, so it's not exact because the hands, as mentioned, is actually smaller than the dust figure. So you can't really make it exact, right? But you can get it fairly close. Then what you do is you go to the forearm, and then you press this is the scale, right? So Alt S. So Alt S will remove the scale that you did just now. So now you go back to normal, right? So before that is something like that. Then the thumb, you can rotate, you can fit in the thumb properly. Okay, something like that. Just roughly will do. You don't need to be very exact, because in this case you can't make it very exact due to the size differences. So Alt S, and you get the original length back. Okay, and then you do the same for the legs. So in this case, I will need to looking for the leg bone. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so press 1 for the front view, and then I will rotate so that the knee match the knee, right? So the knee match the knee, and your heel match the heel. And then the next one is if you press 7, you can't really see very clearly from here, but you can see that the shoe is actually rotated out. So go to an angle that you can actually see both ends, and select the legs. So in this case, it's a foreleg, right? And then arrow, double tap Y, which will lock the rotation to the Y-axis, and then you rotate it roughly to the leg. So in this case, you can see that it's still a little bit out and a little bit out. So just rotate until you get a satisfactory rotation. So in my case, I think this should be fine, right? So now you have the figure that is fitted to your character. Okay, so I will close, I will close this, I will close this. So in this case, this character is all one mesh, but with multiple textures. So what you can do is you go to CATS. So CATS is a plugin. You can find it online, CATS Blender plugin. I use it for, this is actually a program that other people use for virtual chat, if I'm not wrong. It's a program to create virtual chat avatars, if I'm not wrong. But what I use it for, right, is basically just for one purpose, which is the other options and this button down here, separate mesh by material. This is the only function I use it for. Yeah, actually you can do that with MMD as well. So if you have MMD, you can actually convert the model and then separate the materials that way. But you need to convert the models in MMD first, which and also the difference, there's a difference in conversion method. I think I covered it in one of my previous video, right? So I usually use the CAT and do the material separation down here, which is easier in this sense. I just press one button and everything is out. So everything will be separated out. So you got a whole bunch of texture, mesh linked to the textures. So now you have the mouth here, you have the hair, you have the eyebrow, eyelashes, the eyes, and the skin. So in this case, you have some skin at least, not much, but and this is the face, right? So after that, what I do for my own organizational purposes, I will rename some of this so that I actually know where to find. I mean, it's easier for me now, right? You don't need to do this if you don't want to, but this is something that for my own, what do you call that? For my own reference. Okay, so you say, for example, this is the eyebrow. All this will have to be renamed later. I actually found a new program that is very efficient in a sense, and I quite like it. Not say a new program, it's actually a plugin. I'm actually not very sure where I got it. I can't remember. Later I'll show you. So anyway, this all this I renamed. So left only the outfit and the eyes. So this is the eyes. Outfit, depending on how they are actually organized. In this case, they are organized all over the place. So you can see that this is the some parts of it is here, some is here, some is here, and some is here. So it's all over the place. Actually, they are not too bad. Basically, it's just this one, right? So I will keep this. So this one I will rename as outfit pants, for example, and then this is this and this I can combine. So the two of them I can combine together, and they are the shirt, right? Oh yeah, before I forget, just select everything and then merge by distance, right? So you can see they actually remove a lot of vertices, and then you do a shift N, which is recalculate normals, so that all the in and outs are uniform. Okay, so you can check with the face orientation. If you see any red color, then something is wrong and you have to manually fix it. But if not, then this one is working, so to speak, right? Okay, so now I will deal with this. So go to toggle X-ray, then front view. So toggle X-ray, the reason for that is because I want to select everything. So if I don't toggle X-ray, I'm selecting only the front part. The back part are actually not selected, right? So this is the reason why I toggle X-ray, select everything, P to separate the selection, right? And then this one I will rename it as outfit boots, okay? And then hide it. This is the pants, hide it. This is the shirt, hide it. And now you can see everything quite clearly, right? So this one I will separate out. I'll separate out this and this. Actually, should I separate out the gloves instead? Yeah, it'll be easier. So P separate. Oops, sorry, I missed out the top button. So this, and this. Then Control L to select all the link item. So in this case, I can select the items that are linked, and G to move around to see that everything is selected correctly, right? Then P select out. So then I'll start renaming stuff. Outfit gloves. This one is bracer. Outfit bracer. Belt. The names you can actually give yourself. I'm just trying to group them by functionality, so just to make things a little bit easier for me. And this is pauldron. Pauldron. I think it's like that. Is it like that? Pauldron. Sorry. Right. So okay. So now I have all the outfit separated out. Then you can actually continue to separate them if you really want to. So it's outfit shirt. Say for example, in the case of the shirt, if you want to separate out this belt, for example, you can do that if you want to. Actually, I think I will. This belt, if there's something at the bottom, so in this case, like you have a separate mesh that is complete at the bottom, might as well, right? So basically give the user a little bit more choice that they can actually use it with or without this belt. Then you can see that there are some hidden rivets all over the place. I actually quite like Final Fantasy VII's model. They are very, how to put it, very complete. I quite like it, right? So after that, you can, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Where did I go wrong? Edit mode. Huh? Oh, right. So, where was I? Oh yeah, so they are very complete, the models. I like that a lot. Compared to some of the other games where you have the models that, you know, if it's not visible, it's not being it is deleted, so to speak, which I can understand because it's a lesser polygons to deal with. But in the case, I find that it's a little bit of a waste because at least for our purposes, because you cannot mix and match quite as well, right? So this is our chest belt, for example. And then let's take a look at the pants and see if there's anything at the bottom of the pants. So select and So one other way you can actually do selection is you select directly in the textures. So in this case, I'm selecting just the pants from the textures, leaving out the, how to put it, tie armor, right? So I will separate out, and this is the pants. Oh, sorry, before that, I should Control I to invert, and then I separate out, so that I separate out the tie armor instead. Tie armor, and then leaving the pants behind. Okay, so you have some stray polygons. So select these. So you can actually see down here in the textures that the stray polygons are actually all here. So you can do a selection here. Press 3 to select based on faces, which will make the selection a little bit cleaner, right? So I will open the selection here, and then I will go to the tie armor and combine these two, right? So this, select and Control J to join the two, and then I'll do a merge by distance and a recalculate normal. Okay, so after this you have a tie armor and you have a pants that has gaps. Why do you have gaps? That means your tie armor has extra polygon, extra mesh, which no, they don't have, which means to say that the pants itself has gaps. So in this case, it's still not too bad because the textures are complete, meaning to say that you can actually fill in the faces down here without too much problems. So I will just fill in the faces here, right? And you still have a fairly complete pants, which is why I like, as I mentioned, I like Final Fantasy figures, right? So basically like that, you can have a difference in outfit. So the boots, the pants, this is the belt, another belt, this is the pauldron, which actually is connected to the belt if you look at it clearly, carefully. No, it's not connected here. It's connected at the back. Yeah, so it's your choice whether you want to combine these two or not, up to you, right? Then you have the bracer, and what is this? You have another bracelet here. Okay, so this is optional. All of this is that I'm doing down here is optional. You can actually just port everything as it is and leave it like that. But I kind of like having all the options. Bracelet. Okay, so, and this is the glove, the shirt. Okay, I don't think this shirt is, you can take off the vest. I doubt so. So height, yeah, so this shirt basically you can't do much about it really. The one down here. Nope. No, wait. Can you? No, cannot. So if I hide this, it's just like that. So if you want to play around with this, what you can do is put this as another material. Then in dust, you can actually hide this selection down here. Okay, so control link. And no. So let me just separate this out first, and then I will select and select. This is, see, so this is the B texture, then shirt. Just to check, B textures is so this is the inner clothing. So the inner clothing is using one texture and the vest is using another. Okay, so in this case you can then it's better to leave it as one piece then, right? Unless you just want the vest alone. Yeah. Anyway, so sorry about that. I was rambling a little bit. So I can just combine everything. Okay, so if you want to hide the vest, you can just select the B texture and hide it. Then you have only the vest, which is another option. it's another option. Okay, so this one, all of this is done. Next, what you want to do is to figure out the body underneath the clothing, right? So what you have is the Genesis 9 down here, and then you have the face, right? So you have a face, and then you want to figure out the body underneath the face. Then what you will do is you will find, like, for example, in this case, the pants, which is quite lucky for us because we have a fairly complete pants. In this case, the lower body is basically settled, right? You at least have something to work with. Okay, so this is the pants, and then the shirt, which is basically the entire upper torso, right? So you don't have much to do with you can't do much about the upper torso because it's fairly, how to put it? It's fairly obscure. That means to say you can't see much of the skin underneath it, right? So there are two ways to deal with this that I know of, right? First way is you do a wrap without the shirt. So you do a wrap for this. You have the gloves and you have the skin. Okay, so you have at least something here. Okay, so first way that I know of is to use this to do a wrap. Then you have the base Genesis 9 torso, and then fix this afterwards in when you're doing the wrap. Then alternatively, there's another way is you add in the shirt, right? Then you try to rip out as much as possible. In this case, it's quite difficult because the sleeves are very poofy, and you have the skirt down here. So you can try. I would create a duplicate of the shirt, then name this as skin perhaps, just so that you don't mix up the two. Skin shirt. Okay, and then I will try and remove the skin. So in this case, I'm removing all the B parts. I'll just delete. Okay, then I will delete this part here. Don't need to be too exact in this case. Okay, then I will just keep the base. That's to say all the buttons and whatnot are taken out. So invert and delete. Okay, and then I will use this as the base for my body. So the rest of the arms, because the actual sleeves are quite puffy, so they're not very good guide for the arms, right? So I'll just leave this alone. I can reshape that later. Okay. So something like that. Okay, so I will just copy this, export the whole thing to Wrap 3D as sorry, just looking up for the name. So something, right? Select only, export. Okay, then I will open up Wrap 3D. And I will load, sorry, I have a Genesis 9 template. Okay, so I have this is basically a basic template that I use, consisting of load geometry. So this is the loading of the Genesis 9 geometry. In this case, I actually have a Genesis 9 tin, which I think will fit better. So I have a Genesis 9 tin, and then I have this Final Fantasy model, which is Cessny. Right, so I have this, oh dear. Okay, so roughly something like that, yeah, quite a lot to fix actually. Now I look at it, there is quite a lot to fix. The chest area have to move up, the hip line have to go up. The groin line is still okay. The knee I think is almost nice, just nice. The butt line will also have to go up. Yeah, so quite a lot of things to fix actually. So, but in any case, this is what you have to do because half the body is not there, right? Then, so I have a Genesis 9 and I have the actual base model, and then you have the select point. So if I go to visual, these are all stuff that I've done previously. I put it as a template. So basically you have splint 1, which is the year. Then you have I put a symmetry X, so that's why I can the symmetry. So I just need to do one side. The other side will be automatic. So you have one here and one here. So you have the ear, you have the eye, upper eye, lower eye, the nose, the upper lips, lower lips. If you want, you can also do the inner lips. In case of very low polygon models, you might need to do that. But generally for Final Fantasy 7, I think it should be okay. Then you have the chin line and the neck line, or rather what they call it, the jaw line. Yeah, then this is the collarbone and the under the breast for the females, the groin area, which will wrap all the way back to the butt line. Then back of the knee, front of the knee, 25, 23, 24, 25, 26. Then the toes, if you have toes. So in this case, I don't have toes, so later I'll be deleting off all this. But in this case, the toes, 27 all the way to 35. And then you have your crop of the arm and the elbow, so 7 and 9. Then you have your fingers, which is the tip of the fingers and the webbing between the fingers. I'm not sure what you call that, the web that's between the fingers, right? So you run this all the way through. So fingers, webbing, fingers, webbing, fingers, webbing, fingers. Okay, so that is 57. Then the outer edge of the shoulder. Generally, this is not required, but in this case, because the Final Fantasy 7 figures are thinner compared to dust, so just to ensure that the shoulder line doesn't go haywire, I just put it down here. Then this is where roughly the nipples are. Okay, so two lines. This is 61 and 63, and this one is to ensure that the entire shape doesn't go haywire also. Right, I'll show you later. Then if you really want to, like say for example, the hip line is very, very wonky, you can put one on the belly button also. But in this case, I don't think it's necessary. Okay, so this is basically my template model for Genesis 9. Okay, so I will do the same for this figure because the previous model is not using this figure, so it's all over the place. So I really every time I have to redo the splint for this model, right? So first things first, we will go to the face. Let's center the face. So again, I have vertices. Okay, so I will roughly select where the ear will go and then follow the line as best as I can. So we have this here and then down here. So if you're dealing with triangle models, which you say in this case the model that has the triangles, is more complicated because they always like to go haywire. So you might have to take it a bit slow. If it is a quad model, that is to say non-triangle, then you'll go a bit faster. But conversion to quad is not actually very good for Blender. There are a lot of problems with it. So, and this is a fairly high polygon model, so it's a bit more troublesome than it's worth while doing with this. So that's the reason why I just work with the triangle as best as I can. So this, you have the outer ear setup, right? Then next will be the eyes, upper eyelid. Okay, so just follow the upper eyelid. You don't need to be, with such high polygon models, right? You don't actually need to be very accurate. But if you are using a low end model, it might actually be better if you just load in the textures and use that as the base instead. Because some low end models, right, whatever their polygon is down here doesn't actually reflect the textures. So using the textures as the base might be a better option. So that depends on what exactly are you converting. But for most game models, especially for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4 generation, you usually won't have this problem because the polygons are actually, the models are actually very high in polygon, right? So, but if you're doing it with, like, for example, Final Fantasy 2, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 3 should be still okay. But PlayStation 2 models, you have to be a bit careful, right? So, let me see the edge of the mouth here. Might be a bit over. So this one. Okay, and then the lower lips, which is this line. Here, and then you want to do the jawline. You can see that there's most models for the jaw, the tip of the jaw, right, is something like this star shape point. This is usually the point of the jaw, which is here. Usually, but not always. But in this case, I think it's a little bit above, so somewhere in this line. So this one down here, right? And then the base, no, the jawline. The neck. The jawline. Yes, that's the jawline. Okay, and then you have this down here, which is the collarbone. Okay, so in this case, the shirt collar is actually a little bit above. So, oh dear, I'm supposed to save a separate piece. Sorry about that. So save and then pray. I will go back to this and then I will move the. I actually forgot about this. So all the edges, I will remove them. Okay, delete faces, and I will move this down a little bit. So I'm hoping I don't have to redo everything later. That's to say, just now the steps that you saw me do. But even if I have to, it will be much faster. I'm not saying that much faster, but at least because I know what I'm doing, so it will actually be a bit faster. So you can actually move this model around, or this mesh around, right? So say for example, this part you don't want it anymore. Sorry about that. Where was I? Yeah. So my microphone seems to be having some issues. Okay. So next is where was I? So 17 and 19 is the under breast. Okay. So here, roughly you can see the breast line, right? So it'll be somewhere around here, roughly. Right, you won't get it to be very exact, but in this case, it can't really be helped. Okay, so something like that. Okay, actually, let me see the. My thinking is that it's a little bit too wide, so let me just do that. And hopefully, okay. So this is the breast line, roughly. It's not exact, but roughly. Okay, then next point is the groin line. So at least since you have a pants, right, you can actually do a much better rough of the line. We will have to clean it up later, but it's much better than trying to guesstimate it with no reference. Okay, so roughly like that, and then the back of the knee, which is you can see actually this is the knee, then the back of the knee will be here, right? So this line. So you just move this around like so, and then the front of the knee, which is the middle, which is in this case you can see that there's this bunch of polygons here, 1 2 3 4 5, so fifth one here, roughly, right? You don't need to be very exact, but a rough estimate is better. Okay, so the legs, we don't have any legs, so I will need to remove the splints down here. So I will delete all the legs. Okay, so now what we have is the elbow, which we also don't have. So this is also being deleted. And now we have the hands, which thankfully we do have. So at least that's something. The gloves, I need to edit the gloves as well. So I will duplicate this and keep this as the skin gloves. The good thing about logically laid out UV is that you can actually do things like this. And delete. Okay, and save. And then reload, and oops, this is a little bit too much. Okay, so I'm not sure which part is it that was affected, but at the very least, I don't have to redo every single thing. So that is thankful enough. Okay, then so that is 21, 21. Okay, so something like that. Then no elbow, so next will be the fingers. So before that, right, very important, rename all splints so that the numbers change. So now in this case, you have a 27 at the hands, which is what we have down here as well. Okay, so 27. And this is too tight, so rough estimation. Okay, so this one you have to clean it up again later. This part, again, rough estimation. In fact, the fingers you have to clean up because the gloves have they are protruding, right? So this part you have to later on will have to clean up as well. And here, Okay, so now we have 43, and the next one will be 45, which is the shoulders, which we don't have. So I will be deleting this too as well. Then rename, and now 45, 43, 44. So 45 will be the wherever the nipples are. So in this case, you can't tell for sure. So you can only put in a approximate, like maybe somewhere around here. Roughly. I honestly have no idea. I think it might be actually, yeah, it might actually be a bit further up. Around here. Okay, so next, let me check again. Okay, so next is to save. Make sure. Then you come to this one down here, select polygons. So what I have down here is a select splines, a select point with splines. Then you point to point pair. After that is to the fast wrap. So the fast wrap, you have a free floating, what do you call it, the exclusion point. Okay, so these points are actually those parts that are missing here. So for example, you have the entire arm missing down here. So you come down here and you select the arm up until here, roughly. So you can do this selection manually, like I'm doing now. Alternatively, you can also go to the polygroups, assuming you have those polygroups, and you can and you can actually select them here. So you can select either manually or through polygroups, right? Then you will try to adjust this and go to fast wrap. You can actually see where it is. So I will want to cut off down here. So I will come down here and I will cut off here and then come back. Okay, so it's something like that. Slightly more, I think. So one more layer here. Okay, so something like that, roughly. Right, everything is very roughly. Oh yeah, and the feet as well. So select polygons around here. Okay. Whenever you select using you select these polygons, later you have to readjust the feet again because it will actually go up. It will actually move upwards during the wrap process. Okay, so you have to watch out and account for that. So something like that. Okay, and that is for one side. Then next, this is a general rule of thumb. That is to say the eye socket. I like to keep the eye socket as well. So how I deal with that is click here and you double click here. Okay, so you actually do a what do you call it? A loop around. Okay, then go to the grow. I will grow twice and then go back twice. Right, so I select everything that's in between and then go back again. So this is what I'll be selecting. And then next is a material and a mouth cavity. Okay, so the mouth cavity is actually this mouth inside. So this is specifically for G9. G9 mouth cavity and eye socket. G8, you have already excluded all these using a subset. So let me open up the G8 just to show you what is the difference between these two. Okay, so I put in a wrap. G8.1, you don't need to worry about that because 8.1 is exactly the same as Genesis 8. All the morphs that is made for 8 can be done for 8.1, right? So you don't need to specially create a new morph or whatever, or textures or whatever for 8.1, right? Till this day, I honestly have no idea why they even bother with 8.1. It's just an additional extra hassle. Okay, so Genesis 8, this is the model. This is the setup. Okay, so the difference is this part down here. So you have a select model and you have a subset. Right, then you go to the select point. No, sorry, this is the older one. Sorry about that. Let me. Okay, so this is for G8M, the male model, but it's essentially the exact same thing for G8 female, exactly the same. Okay, so what we have is a load model. So this is your G8. Then you have the figure. The difference is here. You have a select polygons and you have a subset. Okay, so what this does, right, is it will actually basically select all the parts that will be going into the wrap. Okay, so in this case, you select the skin, the outer skin. This is the dog form. So let me go back to the normal Genesis model. Okay, so you will select the outer skin, right, leaving out the eyes, the mouth and the teeth. So both eyes, because Genesis 8, the eyes have two mesh layer. One is the eye itself, one is the eye moisture, both of which have to be excluded. So you have the skin. Just select all the skin. That is all you need to select, right? And then you link this to a subset, which will actually exclude the all the parts that you did not select. So in this case, you can see the eye is actually not there. And if you zoom in inside, you will see that the mouth is not there either, right? So then you do the exact same steps that I showed you earlier, which is to say all the splints, the points, and whatnot, right? Exactly the same. So this is the model, and this is the this one you're quite lucky to have a complete model, complete body. So that's what I use. Then this is the body, right? So the points are exactly the same. The selection also exactly the same. In this case, I don't need to deselect anything except for maybe say the eye socket and whatnot, right? So exact same thing. Then the wrap. So the only difference between Genesis 8 and Genesis 9 is this step down here, the select polygons and subset, right? Then after that, you need to apply subset to reapply all the parts that you take out. So in this case, your eyes, your mouth and all that, you have to reapply back again. So there's this step down here. So this is the only two difference between Genesis 8 and Genesis 9. Other than that, the other steps are all applicable. Okay, so let me close this so I don't get confused later. Okay, so now where am I? So I just selected the eye socket and the mouth, and I only selected one side. So now I save just in case. Then what you want to do is to go to Topology Mirror Plus. So you have two. You have one Topology Mirror and a Topology Mirror Plus. So Topology Mirror basically just swap the side. So in this case, I selected the left side. So if I press this, it will go to the right side, right? But if I go to Topology Mirror Plus, it will be both. So what you want is both. Okay, so now you selected everything, all of this. Then you go to the wrap and make sure that there's no problems. That means to say you have to see the press compute to recompute results. If you see any error down here, you have to figure out what is the error and try to fix that. Okay, so after that, I will press compute, and then you do the wrap, and you can see things start to haywire a little bit, but they relatively go back to normal quite quickly. Okay, so this is the result. Fairly straightforward. Now you can see the legs are actually pointing upwards a little bit. So these are things that you have to fix later on inside Blender, right? Or if you're confident in what you're doing, you can fix it down here as well. But personally, I will just leave it to inside Blender. Okay, so this you have a rough estimation of the torso and the pants. Okay, and the arms, the hands, and the face. The face will be the most accurate, but the body you get a very rough estimation, which is good enough. Okay, and you have the top part here and the bottom part here. Okay, so now what you do is you link this to a brush node. I previously do not know about this, but now I love this brush node quite a bit. Okay, so then you have you will link this here. So you link the geometry, which is your what do you call that? Your wrap. You will link to your first node. Then the second node, which is a reference, you go to the default border, the reference model, or the model you want to wrap it to. And the third node is your Genesis 8 model or Genesis 9 model, right? So that's your third node. Okay, so with this, you can actually play around a bit. So now you can see, right, because you wrap to the clothing instead of the skin, so you have all kinds of weird like shapes and artifacts all over the place. So this brush, right, is to smoothen out all of this. So I have a relax projection. I basically only use relax projection and clone, these two. And also the smoothening or relax, the smoothening button, which you can actually access by pressing shift and move these things around. So you can move these things around, right? So relax projection will actually relax the outfit based on the projection. That means to say they will try to stick to the clothing in this case. So I will just run this all over the clothing first, then we'll fix that later. Open this up a little bit, increase the strength a little bit, maybe say 50. Okay, and then I'll just run this over. Right, try to smooth it out as much as possible at this point. Okay. And then the arms here, you'll be a bit more careful. Slowly close down the radius a little bit smaller. Make sure that you're not overlapping over the body, and then you run this over the hands. Try your best not to hit the what do you call it? To hit the nails too much. Okay, because nails is one of the parts that's a bit more troublesome when dealing with this. So basically, you just run your this relax tool all over. Okay, just to ensure that we have a proper fit over the skin in this case. But in this case, it's the pants lah, right? So just roughly run through. And because Genesis 9, one of the reasons why I like Genesis 9, right, is because their layout is very logical and very straightforward. So you have all these lines down here. Like if you go to, again, I have to open Genesis 8 as a comparison. Let me see, I have this. So if you go, this is also Genesis 9, sorry about that. Let me see if I load old Genesis 8. Genesis 8 figure. All of this, mostly Genesis 9. This? I can't remember what is this. Yeah, okay, so you have a Genesis 8 figure, right? So you have a Genesis 8 figure, and you have if you compare the two, you'll see that this one down here, the lines are actually straight here, and this, you have all these points down here, which is a bit more troublesome to deal with, right? And also let me just sorry about that. So this is the Genesis 8 figure, thin model if I'm not wrong, the slim model, right? So some parts I quite like for example the abdominal muscle here, but other parts I find I prefer a lot for the Genesis 9 because it's actually all rounded and shaped, so much easier to deal with, right? So down here roughly, I'll need to adjust this as well, the armpit area later on. Okay, so what was I trying to show just now? I can't remember. Oh yeah, for example, the groin area, you see down here, the lines here, there's a point. This one always cause trouble. All these points always cause trouble because when you're wrapping all this, right, they will tend to bunch up a bit at that point. Okay, so just make sure that all the lines are roughly parallel. You can just run it through like that. Okay. And then the face, I think, should be okay because the model is, as mentioned, quite high polygon. So you just roughly make sure there isn't like a very obvious mismatch. It should be fine, especially the back of the ear and the neck area, as you can see down here. Okay, so once you have done with this part, right, you have a fairly even out mesh for the mesh. The next part will actually be to try and fix all of this down here. Okay, so what you do is you go back to the clone. So what the clone, this clone tool does, right, is that it will try to repair the figure based on your initial figure, in this case, the Genesis 9. So for example, if I make it a bit bigger and then I will run this through, you will see that they actually try to go back to the Genesis 9 shape, right? So I will just run this through all the parts that is like temporary or missing. So in this case, like the armpit here, the shoulders. If the difference is not too big, right, you can actually just directly run a little bit through this and then try to fit it in later, right? So smooth, you can use this to smoothen out all the problematic areas, right? So try not to have the strength too much. So about 30 or 40 should work, right? Where you can adjust it yourself. And then especially important is the under the breast, the armpit, the collarbone, right? And if you have the navel area and the groin area, these are the important parts to focus on. And the butt cheek, basically, the what do you call this? The cleavage of the backside and the underline down here, right? So you want to let me increase the strength a little bit, a bit weak for me. So 50, right? And then you reshape this here. You will still need to do a bit of sculpting back in Blender, but at the very least, this will smooth out the things for you so that you don't have that much smoothing, right? So like for example, in this part, you can see that there's a place where this is the belt that is fixing. It will actually be clinched a bit tighter. So you can use this clone tool to smoothen out all these spots, right? And also the connecting point. I say for example, the connecting point between the pants, the previous part where you connected the points to the skin, right? And also like things like here, the elbow in this case, the shoulders, the armpit, the back of the neck, where just now you see that there's a very big curve, and here. Okay, so all of this will smoothen out your figure so that it looks more complete, so to speak. Okay, then the very important part to fix is the fingernails, because the fingernails and also the fingers here, you can see that there's actually quite a big distortion. So you want to smoothen out. Oh dear, what is this? Okay, so you want to smoothen out the thumb. Okay, and then this one, strength to the max, fix the fingernails, because the fingernails is the most troublesome part. So generally I tend to want to fix the fingernails here, right? So the bottom of the finger and the top of the finger. Then we'll try to fix this in Blender later. The issue mainly with fingers is that you the fingernails, once it actually moves together with the other with your base mesh, it is very troublesome to fix. Yeah, so in this case it's still not too bad because your fingers, the mesh has a finger. So if you look at the Genesis, no, sorry, not the Genesis, this Final Fantasy model, there is a fingernail mesh, so it's still not too bad. But if you do like very relatively low polygon models, then they don't have this finger, and you will have to be a bit more careful. They'll actually squish all the parts of the finger, the nails, into the mesh, which will make things much more complicated, right? So what you want to do is just to smoothen out all this area, then make sure the bottom of the finger down here and the fingernails are as clean as you can get it. Okay, so the issue comes if you have very mismatched fingernails, very mismatched. Like for example, if you do the big hands model, like say for example Street Fighter model. Let me see if I still have to, if I still kept my Street Fighter model, Blender 4.2. So Street Fighter 6 Ryu. This guy, his finger is huge compared to the Genesis 8 figure. So you can see the Genesis 8 figure. These fingers are huge. So what I actually did is that I select this point down here, this midpoint, and then expand the fingers. So you can actually see that this finger is actually not very, the nails are actually not very well represented, which is still not too bad because the Street Fighter mesh actually will cover up, but I could have done this a bit better to be frank, right? But at that time, it's a lot more troublesome due to the size of the finger. So in the end, you have to go to the wrap and resize everything, and then in Blender you shape the size and fit it again into the hands, the actual positioning of the hands. So that is what you have to do if you have very mismatched fingers. Okay, so I will just run through the clone and make sure that the fingernails are all as clean as I can get it. Okay, so something like that. Then for the feet, the feet would not change at all because it is excluded from the wrap. But I will need to rearrange the positioning later in Blender, right? So once this is done, I'll fix this in Blender later. So once this is done, right, the brush, you have the accept, so you click accept, and then you can save the model out. So Genesis, sorry, this is Cessny G9, and then I save current. I'll go back to this Blender and import logo. Not logo, sorry. Import OBJ, Cessny, vertex group, and import. Okay, so you import huge, then I will scale it down to 0.01, and you got this figure down here. Relatively close, not perfect, you can see, not perfect at all, but relatively close. So next, what I want to do first is I want to fix the feet in case I forget. So I'll just select the entire feet up until the ankle here. You can see that there's this what do you call that? At the ankle, the bump at the ankle, just go slightly below that, one line below that. Okay, then press numpad 3 and then rotate. Oh, before that, mirror X topology mirror so that you can do both at the same time. Okay, then I will show the Genesis 9. Okay, so as mentioned just now, one of the points of reference is the heels. So what I'm doing now is I will try to fit the heel. So if you move this thing, right, you will see the top part is moving. So make sure that the lines are quite close. It doesn't need to be exact, but at the very least it needs to be a bit closer. Okay, then move the feet around until your heel and your toes are fairly evenly matched, I would say. Okay, then press 1. Make sure they are matched in front as well. So just so you can see the heels are starting to move out. Then you go to an angle and do a rotation with a z-axis because it's a little bit rotated out. Okay, it doesn't need to be exact, but roughly, something roughly like that will do, right? Then next, what you want to do is to go to the shoes. In this case, the boots is a little bit more troublesome because of the huge heel, the high, very very high heels. But you can see like roughly where the foot will be. So what you want to do is select the middle of the foot again. And then press plus a few times to increase the selection area, right? And then you go to side views. And in this case, try to see where, like in this case, you go straight down. Like if you can try to simulate in your mind, like if this person is wearing heels or wearing such a deep what do you call that, heels, where would the toes be? You want your toes generally to be here, so the heel will actually be rotating downwards. So if it is at this size, right, your toes will be somewhere around here. So what you want to do is to increase the size a little bit, move it a little bit forward, not too much because you don't want to affect the skin too much. So just when you're moving, just to see, you don't want to affect the skin too much, so it's roughly around here, right? So you will move it slightly, as long as the toes is slightly over the heels, depending on how deep the heel is. This one basically is trial and error, right? Then when you add in the heel morph, this line down here, which is the joint of the toes, should be around here. So you can try to imagine, like if this heel, this feet is folded down, right? So this part is folded down, it will line up around here. Then the toes will be roughly around here, right? Which is good enough. You don't have to be all the way until here, but roughly around here. So you try to simulate in your mind. If not, later when you come back, you have to do a lot of adjusting. So now you try to move this around as best as you can, okay? And then also slightly smaller. This line down here is slightly smaller because you can see the shape of the heel, the how the feet is supposed to be like roughly. Okay, so something like that. Then this boot you can keep for now. Next, what you want to do is you open to the sculpt mode, right? Then there is this smooth, and you can start tapping. Don't press and hold. For me, I have strength at 0.7, which I think is good enough. So you just start tapping. So this one will depend on how much strength you use, but just tap until the skin is below the clothing. So in this case, the pants, you go below the pants. Okay, so you can move this around. Press F to change the size if you're confident in what you're doing, or reduce the size in order to be more precise. Okay, so just tap. Then for bigger movement, like in this case the groin, go to edit mode, then select the polygons and move things up or down. And for example, like parts like this, you can actually just select this whole part and smooth vertices. Or you can go back to the to your sculpting tool and just tap the clothing into the mesh. Like here you can see the line of the groin, so you can actually smaller and draw the line. Because later you have to come back to check whether you've actually screwed up anything or not. So there's this spine, there's the spine line. You can also start drawing it. So something like that. Then the chest, because of the shape of the chest, right, you have to move the things a little bit. So the first point is the bottom of the chest. So slightly move in a little bit, increase the position, move in a little bit. Okay, then move up a little bit and smoothen it out again. So you can hold and press for more aggressive, but later you have to come back again to try and fix if there's any smoothing issue, right? Okay, so something like that. Then you hide all the outfit and yep, it's quite horrible. I should revert everything. I think I did something wrong previously. Let me see. Okay, so I'll smoothen it out here. I'll smooth out here. Okay, make sure the... Oh yeah, before that, for the G9, ideally you want to select a texture. Even the default G9 is fine. I'll just randomly grab one from one of my previous projects. Maybe say Final Fantasy projects. You can just use the default Genesis 9 texture. I'm just lazy to go and find. So the reason for that, right, is because you have the nipple texture down here. you can use this to determine where it's supposed to be. Like say for example, in this case, I want, we'll just do a bit of rotation and move this here. Right, and then the bottom of the breast, as I mentioned just now, you just move this a little bit and then up a little bit and smooth here. Okay, so as mentioned, you just want the lines to be relatively straight, and then you can move them in a little bit, and especially the line down here, which is at the bottom of the butt, right? Just make sure that all the lines are relatively clean, relatively straight, and then you can just start cleaning up down here. And the line, and this line. Okay, so something like that. Then go to edit mode, you can actually see like where the lines are. If it's too deep inside, you can drag them out a little bit. So press 3 and 1 to check all the points of the skin, right? Especially problematic areas like the butt and the breast, they are always a bit more troublesome due solely to the way that they hang. So if you know like anatomy, that will be very useful, but it's not exactly required. At least I think so. You just need to make sure that it follows it is underneath the pants and relatively smooth, instead of like when we first saw the model, it's all bumpy and the mesh is all over the place. Okay, so now you have the chest area that is like weird looking. So just select the entire chest area and start smoothing it. The reason for that, right, is because this part down here is a little bit off, so you need to smoothen it out. Okay, so I just need to smoothen out this. So for ladies, you have they have a when they how to put it, when they the bottom of the breast, there's this line down here, especially for slim ladies, you'll notice it very clearly down here, and there's this line all the way that will lead all the way up to the armpit. So that is something that you will want to see for slim characters as well. So you just do a bit of smoothing here and there, right? Just make sure that everything is all relatively correct. Then you can put on the clothing to compare. Let's say for example, in this case, I think I overdid it a little bit, so it is actually a little bit, you can actually increase the size a little bit outwards, just a bit, and here. Okay, then you go front, so you can see the sides here. Not too much, because the clothing is actually relatively baggy, so you just need to do some slight adjustments here and there, and then smoothen out a bit again. Okay, and check. So if this is acceptable to you, then that will be done already. If not, you can just continue to tweak this. Generally, I can tweak this for quite a while, because of all the different ways that you can move these things here and there, right? But once you have a result that you're happy with, let's say for example, this one, I can rotate it a little bit, make it all a bit more square. as in the lines down here, not the shape itself. Yeah, so you can use those as a guidelines. For example, in this case, this is a little bit too wavy. You can see that the lines go this way, which is not supposed to be. It's supposed to be all relatively straight, so you can just move things around and then select this part, for example, and do some smoothing. And this line, connecting point, connecting point. I like Genesis 9 because all the lines are very logically laid out. So in this case, this line you can use to adjust the entire upper chest, for example, things like that. So that's one of the reasons why I like to use Genesis 9 to convert. Genesis 8 not quite so straightforward, right? So in this case, this line down here is actually a bit too high. So I will actually need to pull down this entire part here. But I don't want to affect this breast line. So you just need to be a bit careful when moving this down here, and then I will do like this line down here. This line down here. You can do a smoothing, and then this line is for the abdominal area, and this is for the waist area. So it's all very straightforward, very logical, right? And then you have the belly button down here. Okay, so I'll just smoothen this out a little bit, and smoothing out the center part, and reinforce the line again. Because as I mentioned, slim ladies, this line is actually fairly deep. Though, to be honest, some people might disagree, to be honest. And then this is the rib cage. You will notice that the rib cage down here. You can also draw a line. Actually, if you have a tool, what they call it, the graphic pad and graphic mouse or graphic pen, it'll be much easier. I have one. I'm just a little bit lazy to pull it out right now. So this part is the groin line. You also want it to be smoothed out, but you also want it to be visible somewhat. So this line down here, it'll go up the pelvis, right? And basically go around this area, which is the hip bones, and into the butt line down here, one line. So you have basically a line down here all the way here. So this is one line. Then you have the rib cage down here and up the what do you call that? Up the sternum. Is it called the sternum? I'm not very sure. And to the spine. So the spine, you also have a line down here all the way down. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit messy now, but later on you smoothen it out a little bit, it should be fine. So this one you have to increase the size a little bit, and then check again against the shirt, just to make sure that you don't go too much, right? So you can see that she's actually quite slim, and I would imagine quite fit. So these are things you need to take into account when you're doing this. And after that, just go to the middle point, which is this line down here, this line down here, and then select and smooth out. So, and this line here, this is for the bottom part. So what you're doing is, just now I drew all the lines relatively deep. So now I smoothed out quite a bit so that it's not so obvious. Because unless you are really, really skinny, or really, really your bones are like jagging out. Otherwise, these lines generally, they're not supposed to be so obvious. As long as you have a hint of a suggestion of the line, and this is the abdominal line, this is the center line, right? So as long as you have a hint and a suggestion, right, it's good enough. So something like that, good enough. So you have a line down here that goes here and here. So this follows the hip line, and this follows the abdominal muscle, right? Then you have the backbone. This part will be quite deep actually, and the butt crack and the butt line, the bottom of the butt line, which is actually, in this case, is also quite deep. And then you need to smoothen out this part here, which is this line here, smoothen out this part here so that it's not so obvious. And yeah, generally that is how you try to figure out the body. Okay, most of this is actually trial and error and trying to get something that you are happy with. So I will move this out a little bit because I think and especially the back, there's a this part down here. Sometimes you will see that there is how you call it, it's protruding out a little bit, the scalpel bone, the backbone, and the shoulder blade. It will be protruding a little bit, right? So you also want to make sure that the scalpel bone is also visible, but not say protruding like very very visible, unless, as mentioned, you're very very thin, and all that. Yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. If anybody knows anatomy, how do you pronounce that? Anyway, the body shape of a human, it will be advantage, right? I haven't done any formal study, but I've just been messing around with body mesh enough to know a little bit of the basics of that. So you can see down here the arm is actually curved weirdly, so you need to shape that as well. Because we don't have a arm reference, so this one you need to move it a little bit also. So just as long as it's relatively straightened. And when you're moving the arms, right, be a bit more gentle. Don't do like huge movements all at once. Just make sure that everything is relatively straightforward. Everything is relatively on the right side. Then you can use the Genesis 9 or the original figure as a reference, right? So in this case, for example, I'm trying to find the elbow point and move. Okay, so something like that. So you can use this Genesis 9 or whatever your base Genesis figure is as a reference. And I'm not sure what this muscle is called, the top part of the shoulder, but this one usually is also quite prominent, fairly visible. And then just make sure that the shape is all correct. So because I don't have an arm, so this process down here is a little bit more troublesome. If you have something like a shirt or something, right, that is a bit more easily shaped or a bit more easily visible, then it's not so troublesome in this case. You can actually still just follow the shirt of the arm, right? So yeah, I think the arm down here is a little bit weirdly shaped, so I just need to move things around a little bit. As long as the arm is a relatively straight line, and the elbow you can make it protrude a little bit, just slightly. Okay, so something like that. Of course, it won't be quite as perfect as having a border or base body that you can work off, but for freehanding, I think it still looks quite good, relatively so. Okay, so then I will exit out of this and this. Okay, then you just check. For example, now you see the arm muscle is all over the place, so you need to smoothen it a little bit, and also the arms here, and you smoothen it a little bit. This part needs to go out a bit, and this part needs to go in a bit. Okay, so as you can see, this part down here is actually a lot of try and error, trying to figure out like what is the best way to put it the lines. So in terms of sculpting shoulder and arm muscles, right, there is the shoulder, this piece down here, there's a line here, so you can try to block in the line, and this line will follow along the arm. There's two muscles, one is at the back, I think it's called the Detroit, this is a tri something, I'm not sure what is actually called, but there's a line here, right, and that will lead to the elbow, the crop of the arm, which is here, and then from the crop of the arm it will go underneath between the two bones of the arm, which is here and here. I honestly have no idea what they are called. I'm so sorry about that. Then it will lead to the rest of the hands, right? So after that, I will just select the entire hand here and smoothen it for the same reason as what I did for the torso earlier, just to make sure that it's not so obvious the lines that you drew, right? So then down here, you can just slightly move this a little bit up, and yeah, something like that. Not perfect, but as mentioned, close enough, you know, because you don't have a body to use, so close enough is basically the closest you can get. Okay, then I will remove the skin so you can check the hands. So sculpting, I will just for the fingers, try not to go too much. You don't need to hide everything, just graze through will do, because you can actually do a height mesh with the hands so that it's not visible, right? But at the very least, you need to have the base shape of it. So something like that, and then the skin, just to check. So you have a bit here and a bit above, here and here. Okay, so something like that. Then you will see that, for example, the thumb is slightly bigger compared to the one inside the figure. So I will just do this and then move it in a little bit. Okay, and then this line here, close in a little bit, and this line here, slightly up a little bit. Something like that, close enough, right? You'll never be perfect unless you really try to fit all the vertices into the wrap. And even then, it will still be not very perfect. I tried it before. Yeah, so just get it as close as you can, and you'll make things much easier. Rather than, because you will try to get everything perfect, but you will still not be fit. So I'd rather have the default Genesis figure with the hands and the nails that is close enough. It'll be better compared to if you do the you try to wrap it and then you get distorted fingernails and all that, which is what will happen because the fingernails is such closely the mesh are all very close together, right? So because of this, it is, I feel, better to keep the fingernails as it is rather than to rashly try to fit everything and make sure and everything goes haywire. Then after that, if you're done with one side, you have to check the other side, because for some reason, at least in my case, these few vertices always go haywire. I'm not sure why, because I already tried all kinds of methods to symmetry and all that. It doesn't work at all. And I have no idea why. I cannot figure out why. So all I can do is at the end of it, do a snap to symmetry and then fix it manually, all the fingernails. Right. So these are the few points that always give problem. So snap to symmetry. Then factor 100% plus x to negative x. So plus x to negative x. So what happens is that this part down here, after you do finish the adjustment, you go back here and snap all the symmetry of the weird fingers. Like in this case, the middle finger is always the most headache, right? So you can see this part down here is out of line. So just move them back manually as close as you can and do a snap to symmetry, and it should work, right? So all these lines all have to be fixed. I really have no idea why, and I can't seem to find a way to prevent this from happening in the first place. So no choice, I have to do this manually all the time. Right, so okay, so something like that. Okay, so now you have a relatively shaped body that is based on the outfit, fitted to the outfit. So let me do a bit more. Yeah. Oh, sorry, wrong mesh. There we go. Okay, so now you have a body that is relatively fit to the figure, right? And then the face, if you have any, like, you just check through if any very noticeable issues. Otherwise, just check for the mouth, for example, this part that is inside, then smoothen, just in case, smoothen. Okay, and then what you want to do is put in a subdivision, and the mouth will have a gap. And that always happens because when you wrap it at time, it wraps the outside, but it doesn't wrap the inside completely, right? So because of this, you also have to check the mouth, make sure that the mouth is completely closed, unless you're okay with having a gap in the teeth and the mouth that you can see when the model is inside Dust 3D, right? So just move vertices around slowly, and you should get a relatively clean, how to put it, a relatively clean mesh. Okay, so something like that. And then check the mouth, this mouth cavity, right? Ensure that it's not warped or shaped, and yeah, your figure should be more or less done. So this is how I would go about getting the body, the base body underneath a clothing that doesn't have a shape, right? So we are actually relatively lucky with this model. Right, sorry, I just noticed that this line down here is not very smooth. So yeah, so we are relatively lucky with this model because we actually have fairly clean pens that we can actually use, right? But in terms of like female characters, especially male character, female character, is you usually will have pants of some sort, or if they're wearing dresses or skirts, they would have lake mesh, unless you are very unlucky and you get those extremely low poly models that doesn't have any of this. Then yeah, you have to do a bit more work to try to figure out. But those are actually, in some cases, those might actually be better because you can just retain the base shape instead of messing around with all the shapes down here, right? But other than that, this is the base model, the base figure, and you can actually export this and throw it inside as a morph into dust, as a morph for Genesis 9 or Genesis 8 or whatever figure, and continue with the rest of the procedure as normal. So I don't think I'll be covering the rest of the procedure right now unless you need me to, because I actually covered those before. But this is already running about 2 hours, so I think I will stop down here, right? So if you have any further questions, if you have any issues or any questions, any doubts, anything that's not clear, let me know and I will try to explain if possible, or if not, I will do another follow-up video to explain it more if required. But yeah, this is basically how I would go about doing it. Then I can just, for example, I can just hide all the clothing and put in the outfit. So you can see that you have, let me close the face. Okay, so then you put in the hair, the eyelashes, and the eyes. And you have a fairly representative model of what this character would have. Like, though the gloves and the shirt a little bit, you might need to adjust a little bit. For example, the shirt down, you see the shirt down here, you can just smoothen it out a little bit here and there. Right. So other than that, yeah, basically, I'm not seeing any like very obvious protrusion. So, oh yeah, down here, okay, so let me move this a little bit. Oh. Okay, so hide the clothing, make sure that your character is still hasn't changed too much the shape. So basically what you're trying to do usually is you're trying to imagine how the body underneath the clothing would be like roughly, right? So this is, I think this is good enough, fairly good enough. So yeah, I would say this is a successful conversion, though the arms especially, you have to pay attention to the arms because of as I mentioned, you don't have a base mesh for the arms, so it might go a bit haywire. So other than that, I think this is a fairly successful fitting of the figure to the outfit, right? So as mentioned, any questions, just let me know and I will answer if possible. If not, I'll make another video if a text is too troublesome or too complicated. Then as for the rest, you just continue from here and to do a proper conversion onwards, right? So if there's no other no, what am I talking about? Sorry. So I will just I'll end my video down here. So yeah, just let me know if it's any further issues you have, right? So thank you for watching for 2 hours straight, and see you next video. Goodbye.